What up, family? Welcome to another incredible TurnUp Tuesday. Guys, we're in this conversation around boundaries and making sure that we set healthy boundaries in life. So we happened to lose sound the first time we got recorded, so we're going to give you a little bit of backstory and also we go over our disclaimer. So this TurnUp Tuesday is not just all sunshine and rainbows. We are going to really dive into this, and we're going to talk about the necessity of setting healthy boundaries and why it is important, because those boundaries, once set, are an effort to keep people and allow them to have access into your life, not exclude them. And when you set healthy boundaries, get prepared for them to be tested. So I got to go into this and make sure I give you guys a little bit of backstory, because this is part 2 of our conversation around boundaries. So in the first conversation we had around boundaries, we really got to dive in and talk about this story based on real life experiences. So like I said, I will always remain humble, open, and transparent. Like, we're going to keep it hot all day long. And with that being said, this first conversation came up when I had to set boundaries around my father and our communication, right? So he and I have had a very difficult relationship majority of my life, right? Like, he was a toxic element in my childhood and things like that. Not saying that there was never value brought to the table, right? But as an overall experience, it was not beneficial to me in that time. Has it grown into a benefit now? Absolutely, right? I got to become a better person because of the negative experiences. And this is what reminds me that boundaries, although positive, are now needing to be tested, right? Like, God has got to throw his hands up at times and go, all right, I got to see how true my child is to being true to themselves. Because when you protect you set boundaries so people know how to operate in your life, right? Sometimes our friends and our family have a tendency to run rampant through our house with dirty shoes on, even though we ask them to operate in a certain capacity. So this time around, guys, I'll let you know, after Thanksgiving, got a really wild phone call from my pops. Out of pocket, disrespectful, talking all kind of reckless. And so in that moment, it triggered a response in me where it was the hurt little boy in me that was prepared to fire off. Like, I was the hurt little boy with a grown man response, right? Like, I'm in the position now where if I so choose, that my response can match the disrespect. And I want to be 100% clear with us, right? Like, because we all as adults on this line right now, your adult position in life has the ability to match the level of disrespect that you're receiving. And it can be disrespectful, it could be angry, it could be frustrated. But I now personally am equipped with the tools to act upon the feelings I had when I was a triggered little boy, and I was unable to create that protection, that safety, and or defense. So now that the roles were reversed, I got to check myself in that moment where it was like, as I listened to this voicemail, I was ready to go 0 to 100, like to the point where I was like, I'm ready to buy a ticket to Miami and address this. Like, I'm ready to have this again, but from an angry space. And so I'm grateful that God gave me grace, because he slowed me down and he was like, there's a reason that you're as far away as you are. You know, this is a 5-hour flight. It would take you a while, but by the time you got there, you'd calm down. So why not calm down now? Why not preserve your peace? And remember, this is your opportunity to set the boundaries that he had given me a revelation around a couple weeks prior. So I became at peace in the moment. I prayed about it. I sat still and I allowed myself to be calm before I opened up the door to communication. In that next conversation, I was like, hey, just so you know, first and foremost, you're not allowed to talk to me that way. I know in your mind you believe that you're the parent and I'm the child, but that opportunity, that existence, that relationship no longer exists. We don't have that dynamic. You are not a parental figure in my life. You are a family member that I've allowed to have access to my life. Because we've talked about this on previous Turn Tuesdays. There's a big difference between family and relatives, right? Like, so you've now taken on the position of relative. We share a last name, we share DNA, we share relatives, but family, there's a certain caliber of person that gets to be family in my life, and you get to choose those people. I'm not choosing you to have that kind of access because you haven't shown that type of character. And this voicemail, this communication is indicative of that, because you still think you're talking to an 8-year-old little boy that lives under your roof, that you have free reign to do and say as you please. And I'm here to let you know that that's unacceptable. And I'm also here to operate from a space of what I desire in life, because if my mission is to inspire positive change and love people better than I found them, I find you in the same space that you were in, but I'm no longer there. So I'm just letting you know that how you thought you were going to treat me is unacceptable, but the relationship that we have been working on for the last 2 years is of value to me because I choose it to be. And if you want to keep that going, you're going to check that. Like, yes, I'm your youngest son, but I'm a grown ass man and you're going to respect it, or not. And if you choose not, you just won't have access. So that brings us to Sunday. After the new year, so just so you guys know, I did not hear back from him after my, here, I'm checking you and letting you know what the boundaries are in my life. Didn't hear back from him, and I was perfectly fine with that. After the new year, because again, I'm operating in a healthy space, I wanted to give you an opportunity to digest and respond as such. So I was like, hey, old school, I pray that the new year is blessing you. And I sent him a text. And a couple days later, he responded. And his response was, yeah, I'm doing good as long as I stay away from young fools. Now, again, this is where I know that I'm growing and I'm becoming a better person, because this isn't about him, because you don't have to attend every fight, argument, or disagreement you're invited to. What you're showing me is that you're miserable. And instead of owning and being willing to have an adult conversation, you believe that what you do is acceptable because it's you. Well, I'm here to tell your ass it's not. And if you desire to have a position in my life, right? Like if you ever want to come to my future wedding, if you ever want to interact with your future grandchildren, what you're going to do is show me that you have the capacity to operate accordingly. And if you do not, you just don't get to play this game called Marcus's life. And that's all right, right? Like, this journey is going to be beautiful. I do not allow anybody to disrespect and have access. You're not going to do it. Because what I also know, and in knowing yourself, you really get to show up powerfully. I know how I respond to disrespect. The first time I'll be like, all right, you get a little bit of grace. Once I realize that the disrespect is intentional, I'm here to shut that shit down. Why? Because if you're going to disrespect me, I then know that you feel that you have the right to disrespect the people I care about, right? So you think one day that you're going to have the opportunity to talk sideways to my mother again. You might feel that you might have the opportunity to talk sideways to my future wife. And you might dare to put your hands or feel that you have privilege to touch my children one day, my future kids. Now, I'm here to tell you guys, and I'm sharing this because when you become true with you, I know who I am. And I know that when it comes to that point of protection, I'm going 0 to 100 in the protection of those that I care about. And like we talked about, I now have the resources, the ability, physically, mentally, and financially to protect the people that are in my life. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no disrespect going to be allowed in this vicinity. Why? Because there's just a certain way that you got to carry yourself in order to have access. So now I go, all right, you've now proven that you are unable to respect the boundaries that have been set. This is no longer an attack. This is no longer a disagreement. We're not going back and forth on this. Your number has now been blocked. Your access has been revoked. Why? Because I'm going to preserve my peace. The only people that get offended when you set boundaries or you don't allow them to do whatever the hell they want to do, because guess what? People have the right to do whatever the hell they want to do. And you also have the right to shut that ish down. They do not get to do what they want to do with you. Do what you want to do outside of here, because once I set the boundary, once I set the rule, this is also like the speed limit, right? Here in Arizona, it's supposed to be an absolute state, but it's not. They usually give you a little bit of a window, right? But if they so choose, they can afford the absolute speed limit. If the speed limit is 65, you have every right within you to go 90. You got every right within you to go 66. If the speed limit is 65, you have it in you. Your car will allow it. You can go beyond the speed limit. And they have the right to give you a ticket. It's just the way it is. That's the way the rules are set up. So in my life, understand this. The speed limit has been set. You will be addressed based on the speed limit. This is not emotional now. right? Like I got to take the emotion out of it because I go, hey, I'm giving you the rules to the game. I'm giving you the playbook. I'm giving you the speed limit. But in this game, you get a chance to break the speed limit. Speed limit 65, you go 90. You got a warning. And you got a warning because I want you to understand that this is your opportunity to correct an error. Because sometimes people make mistakes, right? They feel how they feel. They love what they're in their feelings. They're doing where they're at. Like in this particular instance, you're inebriated. And they say sometimes you'll get the truest response from people that are either angry, drunk, or children, right? They will tell you the truth 9 times out of 10. So what I decided was, this is your truth. This is how you're showing up. I'm giving you grace to know, hey, you might have made a mistake. You get drunk, you might say something that you meant, but you just didn't mean to actually say, because that could be how you feel. But how you feel and how you conduct yourself are 2 completely different things. I don't care if you detest my existence, you will respect it while you're in my space, or you won't have the opportunity, right? So you got your warning. Now, instead of taking your warning, you broke the speed limit, here's your warning. Hey, match the speed limit, make sure you conduct yourself accordingly. I'm here to send you on your way. You decided to take your warning and bring it to court. What you didn't realize is I'm not a police officer serving you a warning. I am the officer. I am the front desk clerk in the courthouse. I am the judge. I am the litigator. I am the prosecutor. I am the supreme doggone court in this process when it comes to Marcus's life. So your argument now, your ability to defend yourself is being shut the hell down, and it's being shut down in the most applicable way possible, right? Like I'm trying to make sure that in the most amicable way possible. I'm trying to let you know that I gave you a chance and you violated that chance. You didn't want to abide by the rules, and therefore your license has been revoked. Your car has been impounded, and your bank account has now been shut down as we are garnishing your wages so that you cannot afford to buy another vehicle. You're blocked on every social media outlet, and I'm not proud of it. I just know that my peace takes priority. And boundaries are going to require you to figure out how true you're going to be to you. This isn't about him any longer. This is about anyone in your life, right? I saw a video yesterday that was right in alignment with this. And it showed this young lady. She was 5'2", and her dude had to have been like 6'8". And they're in a restaurant, a fast food establishment. And he she wanted something to eat, and he ordered something different. And he thought it was a joke. He actually ordered what she wanted as well, but he turned around and he was like, oh, all you get is this. And it was like a Happy Meal fry. And she went off, not seeing that her actual order was still on the counter, right? I guess this was a moment of playful, but the video then catches on when he turned around and she gets pissed because somebody starts recording, and she loses it. She smacks the tray. She calls him all kind of disrespectful names. She grabs food off the ground, throws it in his face, and 6'8" dude, he looked like he was 270. She's 5'2", maybe $120, right? If he truly desired to address this, he could probably just put her little ass in his pocket. But what was glaring to me wasn't that everybody stood around and just watched. What was glaring to me was that he had not set boundaries with this young lady, whether it be a significant other of a long time or a first time, doesn't really matter. The audacity that she felt it was okay to not only put hands on him, to disrespect him and make a public scene. This just lets me know, King, you don't know your worth. Because if the role was reversed, I would expect her to have set healthy boundaries and not be willing to accept disrespect. It's unacceptable for us to operate in a world where we put ourselves on the back burner. We create this internal conflict where we feel like we have to sacrifice who we are to appease somebody else that doesn't even care enough to respect who we are. Yo, listen, if you're going to do this song and dance with me called Life, you're not going to keep stepping on my toes, especially after I go, hey, listen, let's get this down. We can go back to the basic fundamentals of the dance, right? We don't have to do the cha-cha, right? We can take it back to the two-step and be right here with it, straight out of Hitch, right here. But if you're going to keep stepping on my toes, at some point I go, this isn't accidental, this is intentional. And if you are going to intentionally step on my toes, guess what you're not going to have the opportunity to do? Dance with me. And this is a dance. and you're dancing with every person in your life. And it is an absolute requirement that you respect yourself enough to set healthy boundaries. And you don't have to enforce, this is the best part. You don't have to enforce these boundaries with fire and brimstone. You don't have to wait till you're angered and enraged to set healthy boundaries with people. This is mutual respect. I respect you enough to tell you that what you did is unacceptable here. And sometimes I'm willing to even talk to you about it. Like, yo, why would you do that? Why would you show up that way? Because I don't know what experiences you had to lead you to believe that that was okay, and it may be okay elsewhere. I can personally tell y'all, I have never been in a relationship where a woman has put her hands on me, because I've never given space for it to believe that that shit is acceptable. But I've also never been in a relationship where a woman had to fear me putting hands on her, because I would never give her the impression that that shit is acceptable by any stretch of the imagination. Why? Because it's mutual respect, but I also understand boundaries. At 6'5", 225 pounds, I don't need to put hands on you for you to know what I could be capable of. I would just never do it, because I would never want you to be in my space and have to worry about something that is not appropriate in our connection. You gotta grasp the necessity to have boundaries with people is respect. It is love. It is caring. But if you don't care enough for you to set boundaries, this is why we see so many relationships, intimate relationships, friendships, family relationships, not get resolved, and then things go from 0 to 100. And I've been in these situations so many times growing up that I didn't understand that it was my opportunity to be like, yo, I don't appreciate how you're talking to me. Yo, you're not gonna call me out of my name. You're not gonna call me whatever you want to call me. You're not going to call me what you used to call me. Why? Because I'm letting you know, hey, I don't go by that title anymore. Right? Like, hey, I know you thought that was cute when I was a kid, and there was not really much I could do, but it never left me settled. But now I'm letting you know, hey, that's not how you're going to address me. No, you're not going to talk to me like that. Listen, I had this conversation with my mom. I remember the first time when I think I was a freshman in high school, either freshman or sophomore, and my mom flew off the hinges. What I did not understand was that the years of mental and physical abuse that she endured in her marriage from my toxic ass father, right? This is a domino effect and a thing that keeps playing out, led her to believe that when she was upset, it was okay to go 0 to 100. Right? Like, you could be angry, you could be upset, you could say and do as you please. Why? Because that's what she was subjected to for a 17-year abusive relationship. So it goes to say that she thought that that was appropriate. And it was my freshman or sophomore year where she was upset about something with me in my room or doing the dishes, one of these two chores. And she just flew off the hinges screaming. And I turned to her because, finally I'm starting to grow and my mom's a little nonetheless. And I turned to her and I go, what's wrong with you? Can we just talk and you tell me what's wrong? And she looked at me and was like, what? Like, we had to set that boundary that I know what you were used to may have been necessary in a toxic and difficult environment. But what you've created here when we moved across the country gets to be peaceful. And in order for us to show up in love and with true compassion and understanding and healing, we can't bring Miami to Arizona. So we sat down and we had a conversation. And she also expressed to me how she was feeling when she felt as if I wasn't listening to her or I wasn't doing what she asked. And I was like, yo, that's actually not what it was. This was my intention. And I can tell y'all, from that day, my mother and I's relationship skyrocketed. It transformed 180 degrees. Just from simple communication, but also setting a boundary. Like, yes, you're the parent. I am the child. But I'm a human being and I'm a child of Christ. Like, I'm God, I'm God's baby, yo. Like, first and foremost, we are on this journey together. Let's make it as smooth as possible by up-leveling our communication. So when I had to have that conversation with my pops, yo, listen, I am here to check the shit you thought was acceptable, but I'm letting you know that it's not. And in order for us to continue this relationship that I opened the door to, like, I'm giving you access, but I can revoke and deny that access as well. And listen, y'all, I am at such peace, you won't be missed. Maybe that's the Capricorn in me. People talk about that mess all the time. It is what it is. Like, I can literally look right through you as if you do not exist. And I try not to be that cold version of myself, but I go, hey, I gave you a chance and I also communicated that chance. And I also wanted you to know that there are repercussions to your actions. And it's not my job to break down your ruling. Like, yo, this just is what it is. Access denied. Done. Not, hey, one day. No, this is not a probationary period. I am literally in the space where I go, bruh, after all of these years and all of the toxicity that you have brought to the table, for you to still be acting like this just means that this is who you are. And I am not allowing it in my life any longer. Sorry, I'm not sorry. I got good people in my life. God continues to cross my path with some incredible human beings. And in order for me to up level in life, I am seeking male mentorship when it comes to a complete man who's in a healthy marriage and father of kids and learning how he healed from his past traumas, right? Like, I'm openly looking for that. But I also recognize, Ninja, you ain't that. I'm not trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. You think I'm a force fit your ass in my life? No. If you couldn't abide by the rules, then why would I give you an opportunity to keep breaking them? This is why boundaries are so necessary. Now, I do not pretend to be a relationship or boundaries guru, right? Like, I do not have this down pat. I'm just sharing with you the things that God has given to me in revelation and a realization that healthy boundaries are necessary. You don't have to go run a marathon to become mentally tough. You get to address the demons that are hiding in your closet we may have been hiding from a long time. There are people that have literally gone out of their way to intentionally hurt us, and we allow that hurt to linger, and it goes into future relationships. We allow it to toxify our endeavors in our business, our belief in ourselves, right? Like, we don't even know that we're worthy for good things anymore because we've been through bad things. But yo, listen, if I took $100 bill and I dropped it in mud, you would still take it? If I tore it a little bit, hell, if I put some fingernail polish well, regular paint, I ain't got fingernail polish, right? But if I put paint on it, you'd still take it. You'd still put it in the bank, because that $100 bill, just because of what it's been through, doesn't lose its value. And just because you have been through some difficult things does not mean that you are not worthy of everything that God has for you. It doesn't mean that every promise he has created and put on your life is not prepared for you. There's a seat at the table waiting for you. But in order for that to be true, you get to grow into the best version of you. And what you cannot do is become the best version of you if you allow people that disrespect who you are becoming to dictate your actions. Because it is a pure blown blood distraction for people who have shown disrespect for you to still have access and opportunity to disrespect you. Listen, this is not on accident. Somebody that has been toxic in your life is going to text you this year. They're going to call you. They're going to email you. They're going to friend request you. They're going to pop the hell back up. Listen, their monkey ass might be at a birthday party or a wedding. You're going to cross paths with the people that have shown disrespect to you. Even if you feel like you have healed through it, it is your test to see how you handle it and do it moving forward. This is your opportunity to be true to you, right? When that person reaches out or calls you, no, you don't have access. You don't have to answer. You don't have to tell them. You can just block that ass, right? Like, it is not your responsibility to give an explanation to people. And even if they're coming with an apology, you realize that forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. I can forgive you and not need you. I can forgive you and not have to interact with you. I forgive you. I'll never forget. And I won't carry any animosity or anger towards you. Like, you realize? And we talked about this before. Sometimes, and this is why I say, like, you don't have to run a marathon to become mentally tough. Sometimes you got to call a spade, right? Sometimes you got to cross a bridge, build that thing back up, build a bridge that you did not burn down to cross back over and deliver a message, never to cross that bridge again. And that was my effort, to build a bridge. I crossed back over to let him know, you will never have this opportunity ever again. And if it comes up, because I also know, like, and this is how I know that these people will still find a way to linger in your life. I got 6 aunts and uncles on that side of the family, 2 of which that I'm in regular communication with. You think I don't know that the child in him is going to let them know that we're not in communication any longer? No. How do I know? Because they used to call and petition, like, hey, you talked to your dad in a while. And this was before I decided to build the bridge and try to establish a friendship with you. Like, you think I don't know? Because it's not, come on, common sense tells you that if somebody like, hey, have you, and again, this is also for you, right? Somebody in your life will be like, hey, have you talked to so-and-so? Have you seen so-and-so in a while? If you have removed toxic people from your life, that doesn't mean that they are gone forever. They just don't have the ability to operate and function in your life as you see unfit. But they're still going to reach out. They're going to still find back doors. You might get a phantom email or a phone call from a number you don't recognize. Somebody who is a mutual friend of that person might be like, hey, so-and-so hit me up and was wondering how you were doing. Listen, if you my real friend, listen, and and just so you guys know, I will be calling my aunt and uncle specifically that I still have a relationship with, and I will be letting them know, hey, this is what's transpired. I really don't care what you hear. I'm just letting you know in advance. There is no need on your part to be the defense attorney of somebody that has already been sentenced. We are not retrying this case. He does not have access unless I see fit, and that's because I took it to God. And if God's like, hey, I want you to try this again, I'm not going to disobey. But I don't see that coming because God was like, it's time to shut that door. And that's how confident I was in the decision, because I didn't have to make it by myself, and I didn't have to make it out of emotion. I didn't have to make it based on how I feel. So I know some people will be like, yeah, but you seem really intent on it. That's because I'm a devout son of a... Listen. I have never tasted alcohol in my life, and I don't wear that as a badge of honor or to shame anyone who has drank. But the one thing I don't do is things that I don't want to do. So me deciding to remove you was my decision. And I will not contradict that decision for anyone and how they feel. Because what we do all the time is there's certain people in our life that get a get out of jail free pass. Right? There's people that we allow to, they kind of like walk the line of disrespect, but we go, that's just how they are. Damn that. That's not how you are with me anymore. And I know you well enough to know that that's how you get down, but you don't get down like that here. You may get down like that there. Other people may accept that. But I'm going to check it and I'm going to call a spade, because what we're not going to do is allow you to believe that behavior, although it is how you interact with them, to interact like that here. Why? Because it is a violation of the boundaries that I'm setting in my life. You can be as upset as you want, but the same way I get upset and I process my frustration, or I process my anger, I process my feelings, I do not project them. I am not allowed to get angry and project my anger upon you just because you're close to me. What we find, and this happens in all relationships, is that the people closest to us are subjected to the ugliest of us. And not because they happen to be there for our most difficult times. It's because we've learned that they can become an unhealthy dumping space for those moments. And I'm not talking about when you're going through stuff in life. I'm talking about those people who get triggered at work, and instead of checking their coworker, they come home and they check their wife. Ninja, no, that's not how you get down. That is your wife, your rib returned. You've committed before God to build a life with her. She doesn't get to be your dumping ground. She gets to be your sounding board, where then she can impart wisdom upon you that in your feelings you don't catch, because she's there to give you guidance. She is your co-pilot. She is your ace. She is your wing woman for life. And so therefore you go, hey babe, you might be able to give me insight that I can't see, because while I'm in the storm, I need somebody who's flying above it to let me know, hey, there's a mountain coming. Hey, there's a hole coming. Hey, watch out for that pothole. Hey, babe, watch out, you're on the wrong side of the road. Sometimes you gotta learn that the people closest to you are there to hold for you in ways that you can't hold for yourself. They don't get to be the dumping ground for the shit you refuse to process and or deal with. Listen, if your boss talks to you sideways, you better let your boss know, because there's other jobs on this earth that you could be doing, that there are just certain things that are unacceptable in this corporate environment. If you got a friend that whenever they get twisted or tipsy and they get out of pocket, you better let that friend know, in order for us to keep this friendship, your ass better get in line, because that's unacceptable. You're not just going to disrespect me. And then, by the way, just so y'all know, because we got on the subject of significant others, if you got people in your life that disrespect the person that you chose and chose you, that's your problem. And you just showed that you are not worthy of the relationship that you probably prayed for and waited for a long ass time. Because if you can't hold space for them in situations with your people, that is your fault. And I'm telling you this because I mean it. I've seen it on way too many occasions where we allow the people who are riders or been in our life for so long to disrespect the person you have chosen in your life. You better learn how to tell people in your life to sit their ass all the way down, have several seats, and act accordingly. Because my mom and I have already had the conversation. The one thing you're not going to do is ever disrespect a girlfriend or significant other, or damn sure not my wife, and nor will I allow her to do the same to you, the same way I won't disrespect her family, nor will I sit back and watch her family disrespect her. We checking shit in 2022 and beyond. And I'm asking you to hold space in a way that the people that you choose to have in your life, in your corner, in your circle, know that you got their back, and in ways that you are unwilling to sacrifice on the behalf of people that are disrespecting. Now, if you have people that are allies to your journey and they're giving you course correction, or they're looking out for your greater good, listen up. If they're holding space for you and they may be saying something that you don't want to hear, kind of like this message right here, this is where you put the ego aside and you allow the humility within you to receive what they're giving you, because it is in your best interest. But this is why you get to set boundaries, because the people in your life then know how they can come to you and address a problem. Because listen, if I tell you, hey, bruh, me and my wife are having a real difficult season right now, we're not having guests at the house. Now, I want you to hear this scenario clearly. Hey, my wife and I were having a difficult season because I love and value you. We're not really having guests at the house while we make sure that our foundation, our sanctuary, is clean, clear, and in a healthy space. We're allowing God to come in and make sure that the foundation is still solid. We are holding that space. So for the next couple weeks, we won't be having house guests. If your monkey ass decides to show up at my doorstep, you have now proven to me that your access is denied. Because there's one thing that I will not do from this point on the rest of my life, is sacrifice the sanctity of my dwelling and my peace. And this is in every aspect of it. I'm single right now. So if I let you know, hey, I'm going to be off the radar for a little while, and you decide that you're going to step your monkey ass out of bounds and come and pursue this, like, listen, if I'm telling you for a reason. Why? Because you deserve, because there are plenty of people in my life, I'll fall off the face of the earth and they'll be like, yo, I haven't heard from you for a while. Why? Because you are not privy to access like that. You may not know what I'm going through, but you might hear it on the back end. Hell, you might catch it on a TurnUp Tuesday one day. But you don't have front row seats to this show. You do not have backstage passes. So where you are, be all there. And if you would like to earn future access, you respect the boundaries that have been set. This is for everybody in your life, including your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, your sisters. Hell, if you haven't had a realistic and honest conversation with your family, I'm talking about like your wife, your girlfriend. Hell, you might even have to check your kids if they're old enough. Hey, I know you thought like daddy was your best friend. Like daddy's always got your back, but daddy's daddy. So sit your happy ass down, because there are limits to your access and your ability to move certain types of ways. Why? Because I'm setting you up for future success. And I also want you to know that I'm instilling in you that people don't get to move with you how they deem fit just because. There are rules to this game. And it is an absolute requirement that you love yourself enough to set and establish healthy boundaries. You got to hold that space for you. If you want to truly be free, you get to set boundaries. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable. Why do I know? Because I'm uncomfortable right now. The old me wants to be a hurt little boy and find my way to Miami, Florida, ring a doorbell, and bust somebody in their mouth. But I refuse to allow the hurt child to not be comforted and let him know, I got your back. And how we're going to move forward is that I'll never put you in that situation that made you feel violated again. It's going to take time for people to understand the boundaries that you're setting in your life. It is going to take time for people to respect the new boundaries that you're setting in your life. People will want to, and again, there's something very powerful, like in this conversation, right? Like I've had this convo with my mom. Every once in a while, my family will still call me by an old name, and I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'll let you know that's not what I go by. That's not it. Like, don't call me that. And again, their missteps or mistakes are unintentional, based off of years and years of habit. So we're creating new habits, and that's where grace comes into play. But when your disrespect is intentional, you lose access and you lose privilege. People will only treat you how you allow them. And if they will not be groomed, like they say, teach an old dog new tricks. Listen, Briscoe old as hell. He's 10 years old. He's learning new things at his age. Why? And if you don't know, Briscoe's my boxer, my dog. He's learning new things at his age because it's a necessity, because the world that we live in and how we operate is completely different. We don't live in the same place that we once did, right? Like, you're interacting with new dogs that you've never seen before. And just because they get out of pocket, listen, my guy, you cannot get out of pocket. There are new boundaries being set. And it's the same thing with people in your life. No, I'm not telling you to treat them like pets. I'm telling you to assert yourself in ways that keeps you peaceful and happy. So now when you interact with people, you don't have this feeling of, I feel some type of way about how they treated me last time. So make sure you love yourself, set healthy boundaries, and it is not going to be easy, but it's going to be well worth it. This is going to be a period of transformation. And as you set these boundaries, as you get clear on what the rules are, set your speed limit and let people know. Yeah, give them a pass as long as you know that they're not breaking the speed limit intentionally, right? Like, last time I got a speeding ticket, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. And the officer gave me a warning. He was like, listen, why? Because I was like, hey, this was actually unintentional. I was just unaware of the speed change. It's not something that I do on a regular basis. Intentionally speed. Like, I was criminal speeding. I was way above. That wasn't my intention. And I was honest with him. And I'll go, hey, I understand if you feel like you have to give me a ticket. And he was like, honestly, the fact that you were absolutely honest and clear about it, you didn't get irate. I'm not angry because I realized that the mistake that I made was a mistake, but it was an unintentional mistake. And that's the type of grace we get to give people in our life. Like, listen, if people do things unintentionally, this is what happens when you don't have a boundary clear, when you don't know your own boundaries, and people do things that upset you and then get swept under the rug. But what happens after so many things get swept under the rug? You can't even walk on that rug anymore. Eventually, the skeletons in your closet are going to fall the hell out. And when they show out, they're coming like a tidal wave. It's not like, oh, yeah, it's just a little splash on your ankle. No, it comes a tidal wave. We volcano erupt on people because we refuse to be clear with them that what they were doing is unacceptable. And I'm going to tell you that's unacceptable at level 1, 2, and 3, right? Like, I'm not going to let you get me to level 10, 15, 100. I'm not going 0 to 100 anymore unless it is in the protection and the space of those that I love, and for good reason. So I encourage you, find your footing, find your grounding. And if you missed any of this, please take a moment to go back and watch today's TurnUp Tuesday about boundaries. Again, humble, open, and transparent. We're going to keep it hot in 2022 and beyond. Set healthy boundaries and make sure that you don't allow people to disrespect the person you've grown into, just because they still look at you as the person they once knew. Let's get better together, y'all. Let's continue to vibe. Let's continue to thrive. And let's grow in 2022 and beyond. Happy TurnUp Tuesday, right? Like, we here for the greatness, y'all. We here for all of it. Let's make sure that life is a blessing and you appreciate every moment of it.